The War Council chamber fell silent as Ronnie walked through the reinforced doors. His boots echoed against the polished obsidian floor, each step measured and deliberate. The Galactic Coalition's highest-ranking officers sat in a semicircle, their various forms crystalline, gaseous. Chitinous focused on the sole human survivor of the Earth expedition, Commander Velthar. A towering Kryn with fur-amber eyes leaned forward. "Soldier Ronnie Chen, you are the only one of the 12,000 Coalition forces who returned from Earth. We need your report." Ronnie stood at attention, his face an unreadable mask. The scars on his neck 3 parallel lines that glowed faintly blue-pulsed once. He said nothing. "Soldier," Velthar's translator crackled with barely contained frustration. 11,999 beings went to conquer that primitive world. You alone came back. Where are the others?" Silence. Admiral Kixana, her translucent form shimmering with agitation, spoke next. "The humans were evaluated. Pre-spaceflight civilization. No energy shields. Kinetic weapons only. Our projections gave them a 0.00% chance of resistance." "What happened?" Ronnie's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Still, he remained silent. For 3 hours, they questioned him. They demanded. They threatened court-martial. Ronnie stood like a statue, his eyes fixed on some distant point beyond the walls. Beyond the station, perhaps beyond this galaxy itself. Finally, they dismissed him. Maisie found him in the observation deck, staring at the stars. She was a junior Xenop psychologist assigned to evaluate returning soldiers for trauma. But Ronnie was her first case, and perhaps her only one, given what had happened. "Mind if I sit?" she asked softly. He didn't respond, but he didn't leave either. Maisie took it as permission. For a long while, they sat in silence. Then Maisie spoke, not as a psychologist, but as someone who simply wanted to understand. "My brother was on that expedition," she said quietly. "Kale, he was a communications officer. Did you know him?" Something flickered in Ronnie's eyes. A brief, haunting recognition. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small data chip, placing it gently in her palm. Then he stood and walked away. Maisie waited until she was alone in her quarters before accessing the chip. It contained a single video file, dated to the 3rd day of the invasion. The footage showed Earth a blue-green marble that looked so vulnerable, so primitive. Then the view shifted to helmet cam footage. Ronnie's footage. The Coalition dropships had landed in what Ronnie's HUD identified as North American continent mountainous region. The plan was simple: demonstrate superiority, demand surrender, occupy strategic locations. They hadn't expected the ambush. Humans emerged from the forests, from the rocks, from underground tunnels no scanner had detected. They fought with a ferocity that defied logic. Soldiers fell around Ronnie as primitive kinetic rounds bullets. The database called them tore through shields designed to stop plasma. "They're not stopping." Someone screamed over the comm. "We killed hundreds, and they're still coming." Ronnie saw why. Where other species fled when faced with superior firepower, humans charged forward. When their weapons ran out, they used rocks, branches, their bare hands. A young human female, barely adult by Coalition standards, took down a fully armored Kryn warrior with nothing but a sharpened piece of metal and terrifying determination. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came on the 7th day, when the Coalition forces had retreated to their fortified landing zone. The humans had stopped their frontal assaults. Instead, they adapted. They studied Coalition technology from fallen soldiers. Within days, they reverse-engineered shield frequencies. They captured supply lines. They turned Coalition weapons against their owners. And they never stopped coming. Ronnie's platoon was ambushed in what the locals called Appalachia. Of his 30 soldiers, only 5 made it back to base. The human resistance fighters melted into the terrain like ghosts, appearing only to strike and vanish. On the 14th day, Command made a decision. They would use the molecular disruptor weapon banned by 17 interstellar treaties. It would sterilize a 100-mile radius, killing everything. They deployed it on a small human settlement. Population, approximately 3,000. The weapon malfunctioned. Later analysis suggested sabotage. A human resistance member had infiltrated the base. In retaliation, the humans escalated. They had nuclear weapons, primitive, unstable, terrifying in their simplicity. But they didn't use them on the coalition forces. They threatened to use them on their own planet, to make Earth uninhabitable rather than let it fall. If we can't have our world, the human leader said in a broadcast, neither can you. We will burn it all before we kneel. It wasn't a bluff. On day 21, command ordered full evacuation. The humans weren't worth the cost. One primitive planet wasn't worth the complete annihilation both sides now faced. As the last ships prepared to leave, Ronnie saw her, a human girl, no more than 10 years old, standing in the ruins of her city. She held a rifle nearly as big as herself. She didn't shoot. She just watched them leave with eyes that held no fear, no relief, only a terrible, burning determination. The footage ended with Ronnie's shuttle departing, the blue planet shrinking behind them, a planet that had been deemed easy prey, a planet that had sent the mighty Galactic Coalition running. Maisie found Ronnie the next morning, still in the observation deck. "I understand now," she whispered. "Why you won't talk?" Ronnie finally spoke, his voice rough from weeks of silence. "What would I tell them, Maisie? That we attacked a species who would rather die than surrender. That they didn't fear death, they weaponized it. That every single assessment we had about them was catastrophically wrong." He turned to face her, and she saw the haunted depth in his eyes. "How do I tell the Council that humanity didn't defeat us with superior technology or numbers? They defeated us because they cared more about their freedom than their lives. Because when we threatened their world, they threatened to destroy it themselves rather than give it up." He looked back at the stars. "I don't talk because the truth is too terrifying. We didn't lose to a primitive species. We lost to a species that would set the galaxy on fire before they'd accept chains. And if the Council knew that, if they really understood what humans are capable of when pushed..." "What?" Maisie asked. Ronnie's expression was grim. "They'd do something incredibly stupid. They'd try again. And next time, the humans won't let any of us leave." In the silence that followed, Maisie understood. Ronnie's silence wasn't cowardice. It was mercy. For the Galactic Coalition, ignorance was survival. And Earth would be left alone, its blue skies hiding the most dangerous species the galaxy had never truly known. Somewhere in the vast darkness, humanity continued their lives, unaware that they had just earned a reputation among the stars, the species too dangerous to conquer, too stubborn to break, too crazy to predict. Only one soldier had returned from Earth, and his silence spoke louder than any report ever could.